Rob, this woman was absolutely terrified. She says this complete stranger jumped inside of her car and then he told her to drive off. And in her own words tonight, she talks about how her only concern was her children.
As I was leaning in the car to get my daughter out, he just ran and jumped in the car. He said, "Get your kids and get in the car. I got $100 for you." I didn't know what to do. I was just stuck.
Carlotta Duskin was frozen with fear when a stranger jumped into her car. The mother of two had just picked up her 6- and 4-year-old from daycare.
He could have grabbed my daughter or anything, but thank God he didn't.
Police were chasing Anthony Medeiros east on Liberty in the West End. He had an open warrant. Local 12 News photographer Richard Lane witnessed him trying to hide in the back of Duskin's car.
In the car!
Police saw Medeiros lying down in the back seat and arrested him. The incident terrified Duskin's small children.
He's a stranger, and I'm scared. I was running, and then here come the police ran and he put his gun out.
Duskin is grateful police were close and her kids weren't hurt.
I was so scared. They wouldn't pull up in time. I probably wouldn't have a choice but to get in the car. My son took off running crying. My daughter was still in the car while he was in there.
Well, Paula, you're about to see some exclusive video of these officers, the wounded officers being tended to by their fellow cops. Also, the dramatic arrest of people inside the bar. Now, these two wounded officers, very fortunate. One was shot in the hip, one was shot in the leg. Neither will require surgery. This was an exchange of gunfire between Cincinnati police and members of the Iron Horseman motorcycle gang inside this bar. A member of that gang is wounded. One tonight is dead. Only Local 12 videographer Richard Lane was just feet from the scene as the wounded officers were being assisted by fellow officers. The hail of gunfire erupting just as the undercover and uniformed officers arrived on the scene.
When they pulled up at the scene, as officers got out of the car, there was an exchange of gunfire.
Police quickly surrounded the bar. They took several people into custody. Most of them were members of the Iron Horseman motorcycle gang. 2 children were also seen, led from the bar. Police say the officers were about to conduct an investigation. It's not known what triggered the gunfire.
I know there were 14 people taken out of the bar. I know there's 4 or 5 horsemen that are in custody at this time. You know, their level of cooperation will help us understand exactly what occurred.
Police say several people were involved in the exchange of gunfire and numerous rounds were fired. As for who shot whom, that's all under investigation.
We don't know, we don't know who hit him. There's a lot of rounds fired. We just don't know how he died. We don't know at this point.
Rob, immediately after that shooting, people took off running from the building, and as you're about to see, family members were overcome with emotion. Officers ran to an apartment building on Walnut Street with their guns drawn, looking for the person responsible for a double shooting.
The shooting happened somewhere close to that building or inside the apartment. It appears everybody was acquaintances of each other inside that building.
Around 12:30 Wednesday afternoon, police found one victim inside. Medics tried to save Theodore Palmer, but he died. Grief-stricken family members tried to run into the apartment after they heard the news. Others looked to the kindness of strangers for comfort.
That is so sad to see a mother run up here and think her kid is dead.
Police found the other shooting victim sitting on the steps of a church at Walnut and Corwine. Medics rushed him to the hospital, and officers say he will survive despite being shot in his chest. But the afternoon shooting has community activists angry.
We got to put these guns down. We can't continue to keep trying to shoot each other and try to kill each other because it's useless.
Chaos broke out on Penrose Place off Boutonneau Avenue around 7:40. Friends and family members of 2 victims were inconsolable. Police running with rifles were looking for a shooter.
When the first officers arrived, they located one victim. It was a female, black, 20 years of age. She is deceased on the scene.
Only Local 12 was there when medics rushed a second victim to University Hospital. Officers say he was shot in his head, but he's expected to survive. Police say an argument a short distance away on Westwood Northern Boulevard led up to the violence.
That is related to this incident here, and it seems to be a continuation of that incident.
which started out as some sort of verbal altercation.
Shocked and grieving witnesses are being questioned by police. People watching it all unfold were horrified by how the shooting ended a peaceful holiday evening.
Well, Rob, University Court is very close to the University of Cincinnati. This afternoon, officers were in the area. They say they saw two men trying doors, and they say they ended up chasing one man through backyards and also through the woods and the bushes who tried to get away from them.
By the time Orlando Richardson finished running from police, he was exhausted. So exhausted, officers had to carry him to a cruiser when they arrested him in Marshall and McMicken. Officers say they saw Richardson and another man trying doors on University Court.
And it looked like they tried to break into a home. At that point, the officers yelled for them to stop. The one gentleman took off running.
The two men caught the watchful eye of neighbors.
That I seen these two guys come across the street.
They've been on high alert because they say at least two homes on the street have been broken into by thieves.
They're going to try to break in, try to get anything they can get, I guess. So. And like I say, this house has been done stripped of copper. They stripped the copper out of that house too.
And police have had extra units in the area because a lot of UC students live in these homes.
We've had a lot of extra patrols up there the last 2 weeks because of spring break with the UC students. A lot of the kids are out of town for the week, and traditionally there are more break-ins.
Officers took Richardson to jail. Police packaged a gun they found near Richardson for evidence. Neighbors are grateful that police were in the area.
I'm sure glad they got him, and nobody got hurt. The policeman, anyhow.
She wouldn't hold still, and his intention was to murder her. That's a statement from the court documents of Jerome Raven. Tonight, Raven is charged with felonious assault and attempted murder. Police say he stabbed one woman 9 times and punched another this afternoon on Government Square. Only Local 12 News was there as Raven was led away in handcuffs. Local 12's Angela Ingram is live from the courthouse with Raven's statements after the stabbings. Angela?
Well, Rob, when we talked to witnesses, they were really taken aback by what happened. It was broad daylight. You're at a busy place, a bus terminal, and what they saw was really shocking to many of the people with whom we spoke. And police are telling us what happened was unprovoked and random.
Why'd you stab that woman? I don't want to listen story to it, and I don't want to just say nothing because you might not understand it.
When cameraman Richard Lane asked Jerome Raven about a brutal stabbing, he never gives a clear answer that explains the attack or makes much sense.
All murders I know.
The motive may be unclear, but police say Raven meant to kill a woman when he walked up to her on Government Square and allegedly stabbed her 9 times. Did you realize she was being stabbed?
I mean, I could tell because, he was just, like in the back.
Witnesses first noticed Raven when he approached one woman waiting for a bus and allegedly hit her in the face. Seconds later, they saw Raven pull another woman off a bench and start attacking her with a knife.
At this point, it looks like a random attack. The victim and the suspect didn't know each other. Just sitting here waiting for the bus, minding their own business.
Seconds later, witnesses can be heard on 911 recordings telling police which way the suspect was running.
He's running down Main Street. Which way on Main Street?
And I saw a man come running around the corner, followed by an older gentleman with a cane. I asked the older gentleman why he was chasing him. He said that the guy running had stabbed a lady over here.
Witnesses are relieved to know police arrested Raven.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no woman deserves to be treated like that by anybody.
These girls practice constantly at the Lincoln Center on Lynn Street. They're on a dance team called Q Kids that started 25 years ago.
I've been living in this community all my life, and I just noticed that the kids didn't really have a whole lot to do. So I wanted to give them something to keep them off the street.
There are roughly 85 girls on the team right now, and there's so many of them they have to break up into groups, practice 4 days a week because this room simply isn't big enough for all of them.
The girls range in age from 5 to 19, but they're not just focused in on dancing.
We don't smoke weed!
We smoke vaccines!
They speak out against drugs, focus in on good grades, and compete nationally against other teams. This summer, they're trying to raise money for trips to New York and Washington, D.C.
Our coach always taught us to be friendly about it. You know, if you don't win, then, oh well, but if you do win, that's good.
Go out of the state, competitions, you know, be competitive as versus being competitive in the streets and having to deal with the violence.
Just 2 hours before dance rehearsal, police were down the street from the girls' safe haven for a gun battle. Parents are hoping the Q Kids drill team keeps their girls from that kind of lifestyle. In the West End, Angela Ingram, Local 12 News. A suspect with several warrants tried to slam the door when he realized the visitors on the other side were police, but it didn't do any good. The man was one of 72 people Covington officers are searching for.
The sweep is going throughout Covington, both north and south, so hopefully this will give a lot of different neighborhoods a lot of relief from these people that are holding their neighborhoods hostage.
Officers spent 11 hours yesterday locking up some of the city's most dangerous suspected criminals. They started chasing down suspects today at noon. During the sweep, officers found this loaded 9mm gun and all of this crack cocaine.
We've got 35 suspects are wanted for trafficking in crack cocaine, and another 18 of them are wanted for trafficking in heroin, and several others are wanted for trafficking in prescription pills or marijuana.
Officers say the sweep is part of an effort to keep the streets safer, and most of the crime in the city can be traced directly back to drug trafficking.
Practically every crime has some association with drugs, and Covington is no different. Here lately we've had more than our share of violent crimes happening within the city, and we're hoping that by having this drug sweep today that it's going to give those people a little bit of relief in those neighborhoods.
John, what do you know?
And tonight, police have 2 victims, Dave, 2 gunmen and 2 different crime scenes.
And stand by your cover car. It looks like it's going to be 4251 from District 4.
Local 12 cameras are first on the scene at Wyoming and Queen City Avenue tonight to capture this. Images of one gunshot victim bloodied and taking oxygen after taking gunshots to his arm, while medics work on a second gunshot victim who is in much worse shape after being shot in the side. Part of this UDF turned into a crime scene tonight, and customers coming here couldn't believe what they were seeing.
It's crazy. All I say to stop.
There's more. Take a look at this Dodge hybrid vehicle. Its driver's side and rear passenger windows shot out. One gunshot victim was speeding away from the gunman, the other running down the street. Police say both were being chased.
Well, it appears to be that, I don't know if it was attempted robbery or some kind of drug deal, but they were being chased after by the suspects.
And tonight, both gunshot victims are lucky. Notice those blue and white Life ambulances? They are private ambulances that transport people to the hospital. One was driving by all this violence and stopped to help the victims. An update now from police. Both victims apparently should be okay. The guy shot in the arm should be fine. The guy shot in the side just got out of surgery a short time ago. We are told that victim should live. In the meantime, police looking for 2 suspects. Both guys are 5'8". The first, dressed in all black, had braids and gold teeth. The second guy, both these guys African American, also 5'8", much heavier build, dressed in all white, seen running up Wyoming after this shooting. We are live in South Fairmount tonight. Sean Lay.